Welcome back, everyone. The suffocation, the stinging tears. How many times has Ton had to stoop so low he felt like his spine would snap? How many times has Diem had to choke back her tears, holding her breath in a dilapidated kitchen, as dark and choked with toxic smoke as a cave? Their endurance has reached its limit this morning at dawn. They made the boldest, craziest decision to tear down that suffocation with their own bare hands. From the rubble and rough red bricks, how will this sweat-soaked journey to completely transform the heart of their home unfold? What miracle awaits at the very end? Before we get into this deeply emotional scene, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now and leave a comment cheering on Toan and Diem's incredible resilience. Now keep your eyes glued to the screen. Let's get right into it. The memory of that moldy, incredibly low ceiling weighed on their chests like a boulder. The old kitchen had no chimney. Every time they lit a fire, the toxic smoke would just swirl around, stinging their eyes, and noses turning the prep for a simple family meal into an exhausting torture. But this morning, instead of resigned sighs, Ton and Diem chose action. Before the sun was even fully up, while the mist still blanketed Sim Hill, their motorbike tore through the wind straight to the hardware store. The store appeared before them, full of new possibilities. Under the bright morning sun, stacks of vibrant red bricks sat high, almost calling out to them. Diem lightly ran her calloused fingers over the rough surface of a brick. Her eyes shone with quiet determination. "Let's get these bricks, honey." Ton gave a firm nod. He picked one up, feeling its weight, and started sketching out the architectural plans in his head. Every bag of cement, every piece of rebar was carefully selected. And most importantly, a heavy-duty metal chimney pipe. The ultimate weapon to banish the suffocation from their lives forever. On the bumpy ride back, the bike was weighed down by bricks and cement, with the metal chimney extending out proudly. Yet strangely, Ton smiled as he wiped the sweat from his forehead. The heavy load behind his back was exhausting, but it brought him an incredible sense of relief. As soon as they got home, the construction site officially kicked off. Every red brick laid on the ground wasn't just building material, it was a promise set in stone. Ton ripped off his sweat-soaked shirt and used his steady hands to measure and draw out the new boundaries. This kitchen was going to break all the old, cramped limits. It was going to reach higher, open wider, and welcome in plenty of fresh air and sunlight. The following days were filled with the frantic rhythm of change. Clack, clack, scrape. The sound of the trowel, slapping mortar and bricks clinking together, echoed across the hills. Ton worked with intense, relentless, unwavering focus. His calloused hands swiftly laid row after solid row of bricks. Diem was right by his side, mixing mortar 1 minute, carrying bricks the next, carefully wiping away the dust. Their foreheads were drenched in sweat. Their limbs ached, but there wasn't a single word of complaint. They found absolute joy in their exhaustion. From a sketch on the ground, the vibrant red brick walls gradually rose tall and imposing. The ceiling frame was pushed high up. For the first time in months, Ton could walk into the kitchen and stand tall with a proud back without having to duck his head. He turned to look at Diem, flashing a radiant smile that needed no words. The floor space was opened up wide, leaving plenty of room for the couple to stand, cook, and joke around together without bumping into each other. Then came the most nerve-wracking moment: installing the chimney. Ton climbed up to the towering roof beams. Using pliers and screws, he carefully secured the massive metal pipe, sealing every joint with cement to ensure not a single wisp of toxic smoke could leak out. Standing on the ground, Diem clasped her hands together. holding her breath and looking up at her husband with a surge of hope. When the chimney was officially set straight, piercing through the roof and reaching up into the deep blue sky, it felt like the final puzzle piece of a dream. Finally, they had broken free from the chains of smoke and dust. That evening, the space burst with bright light and amazingly clear air. Diem stepped into the new kitchen to prepare their first meal. As the bright red flames flared up under the pot, a thin trail of smoke rose, but it was instantly sucked right up into the chimney, drifting smoothly away into the night. No more suffocating smoke clouds, no more red stinging eyes, no more grabbing the dinner tray and sprinting out to the yard just to catch a breath of fresh air. There was only the delicious smell of food, the warmth of the fire, and absolute peace. Tuan leaned his shoulder against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching his wife. Diem moved freely and gracefully, kneading dough and chopping veggies on the spacious counter. Under the warm yellow light shining against the red brick wall, she turned to look at him with a radiant, deeply fulfilling smile, sparkling with gratitude. Tone's heart skipped a beat. All the exhaustion and aching muscles instantly vanished into thin air. This new kitchen wasn't just mortar and bricks. It was ironclad proof of their undying love. When the adversity became too much to bear, Tone and Diem didn't choose to just accept it. They held hands, rose up, tore it down, and rebuilt it from scratch. Every red brick was a paving stone for a future prouder, warmer, and easier to breathe in than ever before. The moment the truck full of materials stopped in the yard, Tone didn't waste a single second. He jumped out, rolled up his sleeves, and grabbed the sledgehammer leaning against the porch. The old kitchen, made of mud and straw, was stained pitch black from soot. The palm roof sagged so low that Tone only had to stretch to hit the ceiling. Standing before it, Tone gripped the hammer handle tightly, his muscles bulging. "Step back a bit, honey," Tone called back to Diem. Wham! Crack! The heavy sledgehammer smashed straight into the wretched mud wall. Dust flew up in blinding clouds, stinging their noses. Sections of the wall cracked, crumbled, and rained down onto the damp dirt floor. With every swing of the hammer, it was as if Tone was smashing away their poverty, shattering the frustrations and stinging tears that Diem had endured for so long. The man who was once only used to holding a fountain pen to sign million-dollar contracts was now pouring sweat covered in mud, using the most primal strength of a husband to protect his woman. Diem stood silently in the corner of the yard, her hands clutching her chest. Watching those dark walls collapse, making way for the sunlight to pour directly onto the kitchen floor, her heart pounded. The suffocation that had enveloped her for months was finally broken. That cave was officially wiped out. Wiping the streaming sweat from his forehead, Tone tossed the hammer aside and let out a long, refreshing exhale. Done. The darkness is gone, Diem. Now we rebuild everything with light. Not missing a beat, the construction site immediately shifted to the building phase. Toan mixed the mortar himself. Every shovel of sand, every bag of cement was carefully measured out like a skilled engineer. Even though he had lost his memory of the numbers in his bank accounts, the logical mindset and meticulousness of a CEO were still in his blood. He drove stakes and pulled the plumb lines perfectly straight. Every solid, bright red brick was dipped in water and carefully placed on the cold cement mortar. Clack, clack. The sound of the trowel tapping against the bricks echoed steadily, rhythmically, like a song of life. Diem refused to stand still. She rolled up her pants, waded into the sand pile, and swiftly carried stacks of red bricks right to her husband's hands. As noon approached, the sun beat down harder. Tone's t-shirt was completely soaked, clinging to his broad back. Heart aching for him, Diem ran to the well, washed a towel, wrung it out, and stepped close, carefully wiping the sweat beading on his forehead and cheeks. "Take a break and have a sip of water, honey. It's past noon. Save the rest for this afternoon or you'll get sick." Diem pleaded sympathetically. Tuan looked up, not daring to touch his wife with his cement-covered hands. He just grinned, flashing white teeth against his dirt-streaked face. "How can I rest? I'm in the zone and the mortar is perfect. I want you to be able to stand and stir-fry veggies in a spacious room tonight, no more bending over. Just go make me a glass of iced lemonade and I'll have enough strength to build a whole villa." Seeing her husband's fiery, determined eyes, Diem choked up and nodded. Their love didn't need to be spoken in empty, flowery words. It was proven by every drop of sweat, every red brick stacking higher as the hours passed. Afternoon faded. The new walls now stood tall and imposing. The ceiling frame was pushed to its absolute maximum, surprisingly wide and spacious. For the first time, Tone stepped into the kitchen area and could stand up completely straight with a proud back. The floor was expanded and a window was carved out looking straight out to the rose garden. The late afternoon sunlight dyed the newly built brick walls, a golden hue creating a breathtakingly warm picture. But the most nerve-wracking moment, the heart of this transformation, was still waiting in the corner of the yard, the metal chimney. To ensure not a single wisp of smoke would ever draft back into the room, the chimney had to pierce through the roof and point straight up into the air. Tuan set up the newly built bamboo ladder, hoisted the heavy metal pipe, and climbed onto the roof. The strong afternoon wind made his shirt flap wildly. Standing on the ground, Diem held her breath, her hands clasped tightly together, her eyes glued to her husband's every step. She was terrified of the feeling of him slipping like he did during the last house repair. "Be careful, Tuan, if it's too heavy, just put it down slowly." Diem's voice trembled. "I've got it step away from the edge of the roof so dust doesn't get in your eyes." Tone called back, then channeled his strength, guiding the metal pipe right into the pre-cut hole in the tin roof. With absolute precision, he assembled the joints, used pliers to tighten every screw, and packed a thick layer of cement around the base of the pipe to prevent leaks. When he let go, the metal chimney stretched proudly into the deep blue sky of Sim Hill. It was like a flag of victory marking the end of those humiliating, suffocating days. When Tone climbed down, his limbs trembling from exhaustion, Diem rushed over and threw her arms around him, completely ignoring his cement and dust-covered clothes. The two embraced in the middle of their vast, fresh new kitchen space, breathing in the earthy smell of wet mortar, mixed with the scent of freedom. Dusk began to fall. It was time to inspect the grand project. Diem stepped into the new kitchen. Her first sensation was the unbelievable airiness. She no longer had to tilt her head and shrink herself like before. She stood perfectly straight in front of the newly built stove counter, struck a match, and lit a handful of dry straw kindling. Sizzle! Whoosh! The bright red flame flared up, licking at the dry firewood. Old habits made Diem squint her eyes, ready to turn her face away to dodge the toxic smoke shooting up her nose. But 1 second, 2 seconds, then 3 seconds passed. Nothing. A thin trail of smoke just began to rise. Rising from the flames, it was immediately caught by the strong draft of the chimney, sucked straight up, and disappeared completely into the night. The air in the kitchen remained crystal clear, cool, and absolutely clean. Diem blinked. For the first time, she could open her eyes wide to look at the blazing fire without shedding a single stinging tear. But ironically, her tears still fell. This time they were tears bursting from pure joy and absolute fulfillment. Tuan stood, leaning his shoulder against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching his wife. The flickering firelight cast a glow on Diem's freckled face and illuminated the solid red brick walls he had laid piece by piece with his own hands. Diem turned to look at him. She smiled the most radiant smile he had ever seen. "It's amazing, honey. There's no smoke at all. I can breathe. I can actually breathe." The first royal feast. Together, they cooked a special dinner. Diem cracked 3 of their homegrown free-range eggs, the fruits of their elite employee flock, and fried a fragrant omelette packed with green onions. Tone stood next to her, picking vegetables, easily reaching up for the salt jar on the high shelf, without bumping into anything. They no longer clumsily elbowed each other. They worked in perfect rhythm within the vastness of their new space. The mouth-watering aroma of fried eggs and the bubbling of freshly boiling rice completely replaced the acrid smell of soot and smoke. The dinner tray was set right in the middle of the spacious kitchen, instead of being carried out to the yard to dodge the smoke like usual. Under the light of the newly replaced light bulb, the simple meal of fried eggs, sweet leaf soup, and pickled mustard greens suddenly became the most delicious royal feast on earth. Tuan picked up a thick golden piece of egg and placed it in Diem's bowl. "Eat up. Our homegrown eggs are just as delicious as any delicacy in a restaurant. The kitchen is spacious now, so starting tomorrow, the madam of the house won't have to suffer anymore." Diem chewed the egg, nodding continuously, her eyes still glistening. "To me, this is the most luxurious kitchen in the world. Even if someone offered me billions, I wouldn't trade it. The wild wolf awakens." The couple ate, talked, and laughed happily. It seemed like this peacefulness would be their final destination. However, deep down in the former CEO's eyes, the fire of a man longing to build an empire still smoldered. Tuan put down his chopsticks, took a sip of Clystocalix tea, and his gaze turned strangely sharp. "Diem." Tone suddenly spoke up, breaking the romantic atmosphere. "The kitchen is built, the house is solid, and the flock is laying more eggs every day. Do you remember when I turned down that 60 million dong salary in town?" Diem put her bowl down, looking at her husband curiously. "Yes, I remember. Why do you ask?" Tone smirked confidently, the poised demeanor of a corporate leader returning. "I told you I gave up that 60 million to come back here and turn these eggs into tens of millions. You've been taking the eggs to the district market to sell these past few days. Even though they sell out 5,000 dong an egg, is way too cheap for the quality of our naturally grain-fed, free-range chickens. But people at the country market only pay that much, honey. If it's more expensive, they'll just run to another stall and buy commercial eggs." Diem worried. "That is a farmer's retail mindset. I, on the other hand, will apply the marketing mindset of a CEO." Tone tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table. "Tomorrow morning you don't need to sit out in the sun at the district market with a basket of eggs anymore. I'll borrow the village chief's bicycle. The 2 of us are going to take these eggs to a place where they are willing to pay double, triple the price, and even line up to buy them hato, di Damasia." Diem's eyes widened in amazement. "What kind of magical place is that?" Tuan looked straight out the window toward the distant hills, where lights reflected against the night sky. "The newly opened eco-resort 15 kilometers away. Brace yourself, because tomorrow I'm going to teach you a zero capital business lesson that will shake this whole region. Dear friends, From the ruins of a dilapidated kitchen, using iron willpower and boundless love, Ton and Diem have built a space flooded with light and fresh air. That smoke-free kitchen isn't just a place to cook, it's the launch pad for a new life. And when their stomachs are full and their home is secure, the true instincts of the wild wolf finally awaken. Is Ton's plan to take a basket of country eggs to a high-end resort just a pipe dream or a masterclass $0 marketing strategy? But little does Ton know that Eco Resort is the exact same project where his old friend Alex is the director. What explosive clash will happen when the former CEO carries a basket of eggs to pitch a sale right at his former subordinate's construction site? Breathtaking developments, classic plot twists, and an invaluable business lesson await in tomorrow's episode, Causing Chaos at the Resort. The former CEO, in torn clothes, sells eggs at sky-high prices. Hit like, leave a comment, cheering on Toan's brilliance, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can watch the next episode right away. Wishing you all a good night's sleep.
Thank you.